Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues and friends, welcome to this kickoff event for the German-Israeli Health Forum for Artificial Intelligence. I'm Naomi Lee from the medical journal The Lancet, and together with Carsten from ELNET-Germany, I'm going to be part of the moderating team for your event today. Before we start, I have 3 very quick housekeeping points. Please turn your phones off or switch them to silent. Outside of the conference room, please wear a mask. And thirdly, if we have time in the program for questions from the audience, hang on until we've given you a microphone so that anyone who isn't present can also hear the questions. So with that, I'm going to ask Hans-Thomas Kessler, the chairman of ELNET-Germany, to come and give you a formal welcome to the event. Hans-Thomas.
Good afternoon. Welcome, dear Excellencies, Minister Spahn, dear Minister Horowitz, distinguished members of, I'm not used to that, and under such surveillance, I thought I'm overcompliant. Distinguished members of Parliament, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, it's an honor to welcome you today on the occasion of the opening event of the German-Israeli Health Forum for Artificial Intelligence. My name is Thomas Kessler. I'm the chairman of ELNET, the European Leadership Network in Germany. Digital health is a topic that touches upon the very core of our societies, the health of our people, the health of our children, our parents, our loved ones, ourselves. And it also touches upon the core of the values of our societies, which we share. It is about the tension between individual freedom on the one hand and state control, about transparency of data and privacy. Our societies share, the societies of Israel and Germany, we share the same values. We are free and liberal societies. And I think that is a perfect basis for what we have in mind with actually setting up and initiating this forum. We as ELNET, we are really grateful to have been chosen to initiate and to organize this forum. And dear Minister Spahn, we are particularly grateful for the financial support that the Ministry of Health, the Federal Ministry of Health, will be providing. And Minister Horowitz, Minister Spahn, we are aware of the trust that you have put upon us, and I can assure you that we will work as hard as possible to deliver upon your expectations. Finally, I would like to wish this forum success, really fruitful elaborations and great results. And I would like to thank you all for being here today. And now I would like to give the floor to Minister Spahn, Jens Spahn, to deliver your keynote speech. Thank you very much.
Yeah, dear colleague, dear Nitzan, dear Mr. Kessler, dear ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honor for me to welcome you to the Kickoff event of the German-Israeli Health Forum for Artificial Intelligence. Even though we are dealing today with the digitalization topic, it is a great pleasure to welcome you, Nitzan, and all others in person. Here in Berlin, it's not a purely digital format, it's hybrid, and I think it's very good, it feels good actually to be finally able again to meet each other in person. So being able to welcome you in person is also a demonstration of the progress made in fighting the pandemic and symbolic of the slow but steady return to normal life. And we just discussed it. We can learn from each other, not just in the matters of digitalization, but also when it comes to vaccination. Israel has shown the world how important it is to administer booster shots. We should be guided by Israel's example, especially since many of those who didn't get vaccinated until now won't be convinced anymore. It is all the more important that everyone else stays protected. We should boost ourselves into a safe winter, and as I said, as we can learn from Israel. So thank you for the exchange we just had on these issues. Ladies and gentlemen, we wish to use the opportunity today and the next years of the program to learn from Israel and from one another. When it comes to regions around the world where health tech is in full bloom, there is never any doubt Israel is among them. For decades, the fruitful cooperation between Israel and Germany has been essential to uncounted health-related topics. Strengthening our bilateral exchange on digital health and AI will above all benefit our citizens and the health of our patients over the next decades. Digitalization, the use of data, data sharing, and AI offers tremendous opportunities and advantages, not only to strengthen our responsiveness to future health crises, but also to make our citizens healthier and the lives of our patients easier. How can we use digitalization as a tool to improve our healthcare system? Just imagine what would have been possible if we had already had an interoperable data access infrastructure such as the European Health Data Space in early 2020, or the WHO Hub for Pandemic Preparedness, which was just recently launched here in Berlin. What a difference would this have made to outbreak surveillance, vaccine development, and the treatment of COVID-19? How can it be that people, goods, and viruses can cross borders, but health data remains trapped within national borders in Europe and the world? We need to leverage and harness the potential of digitalization and AI in healthcare across other countries and Germany. In Germany, we created the so-called telematics infrastructure, which is our digital backbone and network for sharing health data. All primary care and specialist doctors' practices will be connected to the infrastructure. Online video consultations are to become routine. By the way, when I got into the office, they were forbidden. And just within 3.5 years, we managed to make them actually all days routine. Pharmacies, physiotherapists, home care services, and other providers will follow in the next few years. Thanks to this, it is possible to guarantee the secure exchange of information between these sectors and the system. We are also investing in the digital future of our hospitals. We learned during the pandemic how important well-equipped and functioning hospitals are. To support their digital update, we passed the Future Hospital Act that earmarks a total of 4.3 billion euros. This is how we will improve patient care and ensure greater safety in our hospitals. For us to make valuable use of health data in research and healthcare, we need a space for structured, interoperable, and high-quality data. Therefore, we started to build a new German health data lab at the Federal Institute for Drugs and Medical Devices. We will soon be able to make the claims data of 75 million statutory health insurance holders available for research and quality assurance in a well-structured and privacy-compliant form. What we need is a less bureaucratic, and we just discussed bureaucracy and Nitzan during our lunch. We need a less bureaucratic and more patient-centered approach to bring the benefits of digital innovation to the patients. That is why we established the fast track for digital health applications, the so-called apps on prescription. By the way, for the first time in some years at least, we were a first mover on the world by doing so, and even President Macron just mentioned that France will follow that example. The first apps are already listed by our National Authority for Medicinal Products. Every doctor is able to prescribe them and can thereby get more detailed information about the patient's health status development, if the patient agrees. Patients will be able to use healthcare apps more quickly, and the costs will be reimbursed. The electronic patient record was launched in 2021. On request, it will place health data in the patient's own hands, paperless, transparent, and safe. From 2023, patients will even be able to release treatment data from the electronic patient record for research purposes. These treatment data will supplement claims data collected at the German Health Data Lab. This is fully under patients' control. Patients can decide for themselves whether and to what extent they wish to share the data stored in their electronic patient record for research purposes. Regarding AI applications in health, it is clear that the data in any one country is not enough. Algorithms are only as good as the data they learn from. We need shared data sets to train and test reliable AI. Moreover, we are confronted with challenges such as data interoperability, the application of real-world data, and federated learning. These are all topics we must jointly work on. Scientific progress, and especially the use of AI, can only be achieved if we improve the availability of reliable data as well as its usability. As a first step, we want to do this for social data already collected by the statutory health insurance funds. Israel is the first country in the world to have its national healthcare system undergo a process of digitalization close to 25 years ago. The Israeli health system is one of the world leaders in digital health solutions. And by the way, I remember when I was in the health committee, 10, 15 years ago, we already went over to Israel to learn from you, and obviously we should have gone more often. People around the world have benefited from real-world data on vaccine effectiveness shared by Israel. Israel's vaccination success demonstrates the value of well-crafted database. Teamwork between German and Israeli stakeholders is important, with a focus on long-term relationships far beyond the current pandemic and beyond this day. I'm looking forward to an ongoing exchange between our experts, industry partners, and startups. Let's face our challenges together. We both have these within our healthcare systems. We can learn from another. Our cooperation could really make a difference. And speeches by ministers may be important, but what really matters is your participation, teamwork, and the upcoming discussions to seek and find new approaches that reach the public and are endorsed by all stakeholders. That's why you should share your experiences with us today, the obstacles you have faced, and the methods you found to overcome them. Please do not hesitate to contribute bold ideas for the program's upcoming years and to connect with one another. We are here to get inspired by each other. Thank you very much indeed.
It's now my greatest pleasure to invite Nitzan Horowitz. His Excellency, please do come and join us for your keynote.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you, Minister Spahn, for your excellent work in the last years in office and also for your help to Israel. We truly appreciate it. We will not forget it. And I'm sure we will see you in many, many other ministerial positions, and even, who knows? You know, you're still so young, and you're already a promising politician, so I'm confident that we will see you a lot, and I wish we continue this cooperation between us for the future. Dear friends of the German Ministry of Health and the Directorate of Digital Health, for this wonderful initiative and the realization of the common desire for cooperation in digital health issues. Thank you, dear members of ELNET-Germany, thank you, for the important work to promote these ties between Germany and Israel in the field of health and so many other areas. People who know ELNET, they know how important it is. And of course, for organizing this platform for dialogue between countries. I'm happy to open not only this wonderful conference, but more importantly, the beginning of a longer collaboration. 3 years, it's an important period. So with artificial intelligence, AI, and the digital health, to harness the common and often complementary innovation activities that are taking place in the two countries for the benefit of public health and the population at large. The establishment of this joint forum, and especially the dialogue and cooperation between the countries in the fields of digital health and emerging technologies, will bring added values to both parties, to Israel and Germany. Collaborations cross all sectors already, health organizations, academia and industry, but governments have a significant role to play in creating the necessary collaborations. Now, Israel-Germany relations are excellent, and this is an excellent infrastructure for launching this type of cooperation. It doesn't happen with many other countries. Germany has led significant revolutions in recent years, some of them thanks to you, Minister Spahn, laying important infrastructure for the medicine of the future. Cooperation with Germany allows us to think together about the next steps. Moreover, it will bring value to the whole ecosystem in both countries. Policies, regulations at the government level, joint research and development in academia and research institutions and industry on both sides. Therefore, I'm happy to see here as speakers and in the audience representatives of all these sectors. We are in a health conference, so it would be impossible not to talk about the topic that concerns us all at the moment, and this is the global struggle against COVID-19. Now, Israel is currently at the end of the fourth wave, or as we call it in Israel, the Delta wave. In our case, in addition to a changing of variant, the government has also changed. I mean, politically, it took 4 rounds of election in 2 years, but eventually we made it. And look, my party was in the opposition for 20 years, waiting for this moment. Anyway, it arrived. And as a result, our approach to pandemic management policy also changed. This time, and it is a change from previous government, this time we said from the very first moment that we will live alongside COVID-19. So, meaning no lockdowns and no severe restrictions on the economy and the public, while effectively maintaining public health. Now, we have seen in the last 2 years all over the world that the social and economic price of lockdowns is extremely high. Extensive damage to the economy, the public's ability to earn a living, education, culture, sports, what have you. Shutting them down ultimately harm health as well. And we see the consequences in Israel, for instance, with mental health, the results of those lockdowns. So we are seeing today, after 3 difficult and painful lockdowns in Israel, we pursued a different long-term strategy, understanding that after the Delta variant, another variant may be discovered, and another one, and another one. And so we have decided we do not live from lockdown to lockdown, but we will try not to shut down society and the economy every time when it happens. So we kept the economy open. We allowed free movement, opened the school at the time, at the beginning of the year, cultural, sports activities, everything was open. And to make this possible, we have laid the groundwork in Israel that will allow us to live alongside the virus for a long time. For instance, the Green Pass, a national deployment of speed tests and PCR tests, very close supervision of the airports and points of entrance and exits from the country. And of course, the most important and effective mean, the vaccine. Israel was the first to vaccinate with a booster shot, the first in the world. And I think this decision helped us greatly in preserving the lives of many Israeli citizens and maintaining the routine of life. So now, in a broad background perspective, one has to admit there is no, I think, alternative to vaccine. Without it, no matter what we would have taken, what we would have done, we would not have faced it successfully. So it is thanks to the vaccine, the booster shot, that we overcame this fourth wave of corona. Now, another important conclusion, looking backwards, is that we need to have a good, strong public health system. This is maybe the most important conclusion. Universal healthcare paired with a strong public system. Today, there is no doubt that countries with stronger state-regulated universal health coverage are much more prepared and much more protected from major crises. Now, the public health system in Israel, built on the foundations of universal healthcare, is the one that has saved lives more than anything else. And it deserves the greatest credit. We have 4 HMOs in Israel, very efficient organizations, and we have the public hospitals. And this amazing infrastructure knows best how to reach each and every person in Israel. And yes, it is connected digitally also to my cellular phone, and I can see the dashboard of what happened an hour ago in terms of tests and vaccines and whatever. So this system allowed us to get the necessary decisions very fast. And, we are not a federation, we don't have lender, so every decision is taken in the government level. And so with the proper data, you can react fastly enough. So I think this is part of the reason for our success with this fourth wave. And we also increased dramatically the number of tests. I think we are the first in the world in the number of tests per population. This also increased dramatically. And I think another lesson to be taught from this crisis is social solidarity. And I want to share with you some interesting data on this matter. When I took office, I asked my staff to map out the unvaccinated data in Israel, meaning where are the people with the highest potential to become infected and get sick. And for us, the results, for me, were not surprised. They were not surprising. We found out that, let's say, ideological opponents of vaccines are a negligible percentage and almost numerically insignificant. The unvaccinated map is an accurate reflection of the inequality map of Israeli society. Economically weak populations that feel discriminated against and excluded, whose trust in state institutions is lower, are much less vaccinated. And the best indication to expect whether a person will be vaccinated or not, even when the vaccine is available to all free of charge, it is the socio-economic disparities and the sense of institutional discrimination felt by that person. So COVID-19 does not differentiate between Jews, Muslims, or Christians, or secular or religious, nor between the poor and the rich. Infection and morbidity affected everyone. The hospitals took care of everyone. And when the disease spread and the hospitals faced a heavy burden, and it happened 2 months ago, and we faced a real crisis with the hospitals packed with severely ill cases, every citizen in the country was harmed by it without exceptions. So whoever thought that inequality only harms the weaker sections was proven to be wrong. And so my conclusion from this is to invest dramatically into poor areas in order to increase their health standards, so for the benefit of everybody. Also, we have a special situation in Israel with our Palestinian friends. And of course, you know that the virus knows no border. And since they are our closest and most important neighbors, I said from the very beginning that I'm going to discuss this with them directly, and I met my Palestinian my Palestinian colleague, the health minister for Palestine, and this was his first meeting after many, many years where there was no actually direct connection between the ministries, although we are 10 minutes driving apart, Jerusalem and Ramallah. And also I met with the president of the Palestinian Authority discussing vaccines, discussing health issues. And this is also part of this social solidarity idea within your country and with your neighbors. Now, about information, digital information, and AI. Over 25 years, we in Israel amassed diverse information through our databases. And in Israel, it's all centralized, so we have a very good direct access to all the data. And since we are a country of very vast diversity between the people, the data covers a very genetically diverse population. So you can see and track each and every specific group of the population. And so citizens, and it's obligatory in Israel to be part of one of the 4 HMOs. So we have a data which is 100% national, covering everybody. Okay, so this is a good basis to make research and to take decisions. Now, also, the Israeli healthcare system greatly benefits from this powerful ecosystem of innovation in Israel. They call us startup nation. I don't know if this is correct, but anyway, we have 700 digital health startups only dealing with health, 700. So for a country in the dimensions of Israel, this is quite respectable. Now, using AI, which is another layer, we can imagine a world where new tools enable decisions and supports these diagnostics. We already do machine learning in several areas of health, and we use it more and more. Now, I see, you know, we since the hospitals are packed, we try to do many more keeping people at their houses, getting the treatment at home, you know, supervised by all sorts of digital means, connected to hospitals or the HMOs, and saving, by the way, a lot of money and making the life of the patient much better. Stay with the family, not going to the hospital, not with this hospital environment, less pollutions, less contamination. Now, in recent years, also your country, Germany, has undergone a gradual process of digitization, and recognition of the need to assimilate innovation at all levels and sectors, both in the private sector and in the government, both among old and traditional companies and certainly among technology companies. So thank you, Minister Spahn, for demonstrating friendship, as I said, towards Israel in the good times and during the COVID-19 times. And as I said, we will all remember this. And it is my firm belief that collaborations that will be started at this forum will eventually transform the way we provide healthcare. And my ministry will support it in any way we can. And I think together, both ministries, we can build great things for the benefit of humanity. So we have a great deal of work ahead and a great deal that we can learn from each other. Thank you, dear friends, for this marvelous occasion. Thank you, Minister Spahn, and shalom, everybody.
Minister Spahn, Minister Horowitz, thank you so much for those opening keynotes. Minister Spahn telling us about the amazing progress in Germany on everything digital, and Minister Horowitz telling us, yes, despite the progress, socioeconomic circumstances are still important. So thank you again. And with that, I'd like to open the floor now to Dr. Gottfried Ludewig, Director General of Digitalization Innovation at the Federal Ministry of Health, Germany. Dr. Ludewig?
Yes, thank you very much, dear Minister Horowitz, dear Minister Spahn, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. So, what a beautiful day, actually. Thank you very much, all of you, for joining us today, and especially to our Israeli friends for making the effort to really join us today here in Berlin in person. It's just marvelous and amazing to see you all and to meet you and to discuss everything around digitalization. And moreover, thank you very much for bringing Tel Aviv weather with you. This is not a typical October weather outside for Berlin, so I think you should come just join us more often. We are really thrilled to have you all here because we truly believe in international cooperation. We truly do, and we admire the Israeli pragmatism, your knowledge, your experience, your expertise in the field of digitalization, of artificial intelligence, of the use of data. And actually, we believe that all challenges we are facing regarding digitalization and AI can be solved in a better way if we act together. And if I say we, I truly mean Israel and Germany. Because if we look at the surroundings and how we work, where we work, I think we are really born partners, and I'm really, really looking forward in acting together and facing the challenges together. We already did that in the past, and I remember a beautiful delegation trip in the pre-corona era. That was 2019. It seems like 10 years ago. It's only 2 years, to be very honest. And still there, we already were impressed by especially your innovation power and your knowledge back then, and in the open discussions. But today is a special day because from today on, it's not just having delegation trips and meeting each other sometimes, but I think it's very, very unique because now we establish an ongoing dialogue. It's not only one kickoff event, it's an ongoing dialogue which will last for the next at least 3 to 4 years. And combining each and every one, we will see each other for conferences, for roundtable discussions, for virtual formats, and we will include all the stakeholders from the healthcare system. It won't be only a government-to-government discussion, it will be including each and every one. And yes, there are challenges. Right? We had a lovely lunch together, and we all are fascinated by the possibilities of digitalization, and we praise digitalization and the opportunities they bring us. But yes, there are challenges, there are problems, right? But the good thing is that it's more than worth to face those challenges and to solve those problems together. Because this kind of digitalization will help us to provide just a better healthcare, a personalized healthcare, a personalized medical care, and it will help us really it will allow us probably also to have a patient-centric and empowering and a trustful participation in better healthcare for all our societies. And this, I think, is worthwhile to be discussed and to be worked on. For example, if we think about, and there are people I see already in the auditorium who will tell us more about concrete examples, but if we think about enabling better diagnosis, which is the start point of treatment, right? Or about clinical decision-making, which will help the patients, but will help the doctors as well, just delivering a better job. If we think about facilitating faster and better research, and I mean, we talked a lot about the vaccine development, and the whole world actually always looks to Israel, and I know that we're going to see some data today for the booster shot, which probably will be very impressive to us, and I hope the STIKO will look at it as well, because they know it. Lothar Wieder tell me, then I hope they will get the right conclusions out of that. So, and however, this is something which really will work, and especially, however, there are challenges if we think about the question of data standardization, if we think about open interfaces, if we talk about how do we define those data sets. And I'm really curious that we should work on that and that we solve these concrete problems. And above all, ensuring, obviously, better treatment outcomes, right? I mean, it's about the patient and how he is treated. So a lot of chances, a lot of challenges ahead of us. But the best way to get things done is to do it together, and that's why I'm very proud and very honored and very grateful that you are here and that we joined together today for the German-Israeli Health Forum. My God, what a long title. This must be Germans who have that in mind, on artificial intelligence, because actually to bring everyone together is the key to success. And this is why, and this is my last point, I really want to encourage each and everyone here, also hybridly, and everyone who will join us later on, to really, to any form of creativity, to any form of cooperation, teamwork, and to accelerating dialogues. And that's, again, not only between ministries. I think about the Israeli HMOs, who do an impressive work to bring them together with the German Krankenkasse to just share their knowledge and their experience, what we can get out of the data, the massive data they have, to steer the system in a better way, to create better outcomes for patients. I think about our research institutions, our innovation centers. How can we get them together regarding questions of beneficial health data use? I think about the key industries, or maybe key industries, but key players like the German Mittelstand, and the Israeli startup companies, right? Or I think about the startup ecosystem of both our countries, talking about challenges, market access, access to capital, and all the other questions, because I truly believe that innovation will gravitate to where the best data is available, and implementation where also the reimbursement and the framework actually is ensured to be open for the implementation. So, actually, that's it. I just, once again, only encourage all of you to engage with each other. It's nothing to be said for governments. It's something to invite each and everyone from the healthcare and from the industry side, from the startup and from the academic world, to just interact and to use this platform that we really have a success. And a success means that we really define problems and then solve the problems together. And before handing over the microphone, I would really, really, from the bottom of our hearts, thank the Israeli Ministry of Health for all their amazing support. It's been really, the last weeks have been incredibly joyful, just getting into such a close contact. I want to thank the Israeli Embassy, which helped from the beginning, from the start, to set that up. I want to thank, obviously, also our team, who worked day and night for that, and obviously also our friends from ELNET for making all that possible. So thank you very much, and now it's my real pleasure to hand over the microphone to our dear friend Dr. Asher Salmon from the ministry, in the Israeli Ministry of Health. Thank you very much.
Well, I understand in Germany you don't shake hands yet. I think we should go back to this practice sometime. Oh, well, really, thank you so much for these warm words. And I think we are on the verge of really opening a new era in our collaboration. Germany and Israel collaborating for so many years in so many fields. But I do believe that looking forward now, maybe into a new cooperation agreement between our governments, which would spread to companies, hospitals, HMOs, and everybody else, that could be a major boost for all of us. So many nice words were said about IT and digital health in Israel and Germany, the ecosystem which is fitting the need, a long-lasting adoption of IT technologies. We are a small and a centralized country, which really was very helpful during the COVID-19 era, as the minister was mentioning. We knew everything at every spot. We could take central decisions. Not that we are not facing challenges as everybody else, anti-vax, anti-establishment, anti-whatever is attacking us on a daily basis, and we have to find a proper way how to convince the public that what we are offering is the right thing, and you have to stick to data, and you have to stick to facts, and you have to progress in order to finish with this terrible pandemic. But there are some challenges, and I would like to say a few words about challenges. It's always nice to talk about the nice and the bright side of the moon, but we have many, many challenges. It's a huge challenge because we are dealing with, at least in Israel, as we are in this business for a while, with the tiring old systems that need regularly to be replaced with very high expenses. And you find out that a huge campaign that you had moved ahead 5 years ago is totally irrelevant now, and you have to spend again. And countries must understand that spending into digital health is a long-lasting adventure, and you would not see reimbursement and benefits immediately. You have to be patient enough, and sometimes it's hard to tell countries which are just now entering into digital health that, hey, you would spend a lot of money and it would take a few years till you would see the advantages. There is an issue with us, the physicians, the doctors, people in my age. Not all of them are well equipped and well understand how to use digital health. And it's not easy to teach my generation and maybe people which are even older than I am, even a bit younger than I, how to switch from a pencil and a paper to a paperless environment, and how not just to technically type into the computer, but rather understand how to use this tool for the benefit of the patients. And it doesn't finish there. We have to, I would say, reform the way that we are educating the new generation from medical school. We do believe that our children are already well equipped and know exactly what should be done, and much better than we are, and they are. But still, we have to put more emphasis into digital education in our health professional schools. Without doing so, we would not be able to create a generation which are capable of using this tool for the benefit of everybody. We have a big challenge on cyber and data protection. And I don't know if all of you had followed the news from Israel, but we had a massive cyber attack on one of our hospitals last week, which created a major damage. We have to put more thoughts of how do we function when the system falls down. And that is not a thing that you just read in the paper, it is a reality, and we have to spend more in this issue as well. Another point is intraconnectability. We have fabulous digital tools. Unfortunately, we are now 25 years into the era of electronic medical records, but our electronic medical record systems are not as good as we wish they are. And mostly, they do not interact one with another. So we have only 4 HMOs, and it's still a huge challenge to take records from one HMO and see them in another system. Although we have, and some of you know, our virtual cloud or Keitan, so at least part of the medical data could be shared in any endpoint in the country, but in many cases it is still a frustrating system, which at the best case you would get a kind of a PDF style data rather than getting a real electronic data. And my last point for today would be, as a clinician, saying that we have to remember that digital health is great, but it's not there to replace our clinical judgment, our clinical touch, and the personal touch with our patients. And as time what we are bringing into the arena digital health, we still have to push and educate and train our physicians how really they should approach a patient and should give not only formal diagnosis, but rather what the patient really needs, which is relief. Thank you very much, and I really hope that we would be able not only to meet in this fabulous place, but establish, I would say, a long-lasting connection with meaningful meetings, not only in conferences, but rather building working groups which would meet regularly. And I invite you all to come to Israel and be our guests in the next meeting. Thank you so much.
Dr. Ludewig, Dr. Salmon, thank you so much for those remarks. It's almost as if one of you chose to take the positive view and the other the negative view, and together you've given us not only the optimism, but also the realism. So thank you. And with that, I'll hand over to our final speaker before the coffee break, which is my co-moderator, Carsten Ovens, Executive Director of ELNET-Germany. Carsten.
All right. Thank you very much, Naomi. And again, dear Excellencies, both ministers, distinguished guests, members of parliament, and all, in particular, the people behind the scenes who are making this possible, starting from the introduction of our chairman, Hans-Thomas Kessler, over the keynotes. And now it's my pleasure to very briefly introduce the German-Israeli Health Forum for Artificial Intelligence, or in short, GIHF-AI, the program that we plan to host the next 3 years in very close collaboration with the Ministry of Health here in Germany and also in Israel. So just Very briefly beforehand, for those of you who wonder what ELNET actually is doing besides setting up events and programs like this, we've been established in 2007 already as an organization that connects Europe and Israel, that builds bridges and that strengthens the European and Israeli relations. And since 2014, we do have an office here in the German headquarters, in the German capital in Berlin. So while our focus is on foreign and security policy on the one hand, over the past years, more and more we focus also on economic and in particular on innovation. And this has one particular reason. If you see German and Israeli relations, and you would describe them in a sense of writing a book, obviously from a German perspective, chapter 1 is always historical responsibility. And chapter 2 is the values we share, freedom of speech, democracy, freedom of media, and equality. But then also there is a new chapter that is, in addition, future-oriented, and this is about innovation. It's about connecting what also Minister Horowitz said earlier on, the startup nation. And yes, I think we may call your beautiful country the startup nation, because there is no other place in the world where there are more startups per capita than in the state of Israel. And so we are looking forward to strengthening these relations in this particular field. And here, it's all about health. It's about digital health. Israel, as we already learned beforehand today, has begun more than 20 years ago in streamlining, in collecting and streamlining data, in building up startups. Minister Horowitz said it's already more than, or around 700, I think you mentioned. This data obviously is already outdated because last week it was 600. So that shows that shows how fast the Israeli economy in the field of digital health is developing. And if we have a closer look, what kind of startups we find there, a vast majority, almost 200, is in data analytics. Another 160 we can find in mobile health, and another more than 120 startups can be found in sensoric. And what is most astonishing when we speak about young and striving and growing companies, usually, obviously, you see that an industry is maturing and becoming more mature, and companies are growing. But if you have a look at Israel, I think it's more than 50% of the startups in the digital health sector that are less than 5 years old. And that shows how dynamic, how innovative the Israeli digital health scene is. So we learned also today in the speech of Minister Spahn, and also Minister Horowitz made that very clear, that Germany has indeed made tremendous progress over the past 4 years when it comes to innovation in the field of health. Nonetheless, this data is from a study of the Bertelsmann Foundation conducted in 2018. We see, if we compare Germany and Israel here, that there is still a slight gap. So while Israel is in more or less a pole position, one of the leading countries when it comes to digital health, number 4 worldwide, Germany was ranked number 16. Again, this is 2018, so obviously we have made some progress, and for sure the situation would already be much different, much more positive today. Nonetheless, there is still room for improvement, and we heard already about the Digitale Versorgungsgesetz that was passed by the Bundestag in 2019, a very important one. Also, Israeli companies are looking forward to and embrace, and we see that also collaboration in the field of health and digital health and science and technology has quite some history between Germany and Israel since the year of science and technology in 2008. So what we are trying to build now, and that's basically the story behind GIHF-AI, the new program, is to connect the various stakeholders of the health ecosystem, from the HMOs or the German Krankenkasse, from our large hospital chain, from science and research, and also from the corporate and the startup side, bringing them together with policymakers from both parliaments and obviously with all the experts from both ministries. So the story is quite easy. We heard it from Dr. Gottfried Ludewig that he, together with a delegation from the German Federal Ministry of Health, visited Israel in 2019 and really was amazed by the vibrant economic and innovative system they found there. And so a while ago we had a chat and thought about this is something we should formalize. This is something we should build a program around. And yes, indeed, we are delighted that Thomas Kessler said that early on as our chairman, that we have been chosen now to build this new program, this German-Israeli Health Forum of Artificial Intelligence, to learn from Israel and to, as you said it, Minister Horowitz, to jointly build a better future for humanity in the era of digitalization and health. So that's what we're going to work on, to do, strengthen the cooperation between Germany and Israel around innovative technologies, to gain trust. It's all about trust in digitalization and in particular in artificial intelligence, to help to create a better regulatory framework and also to identify meaningful applications in the field of AI. So while we will initiate this dialogue and then also provide the results to the interested public and obviously all the professionals on the field, therefore we will host a series of round tables over the next 3 or more years to come. 3 annual conferences will take place. And obviously there is still room for more also to be hosted in Israel. We will focus on 3 working streams. The first one is about communication and trust. It's basically from the perspective, on the one hand, of the medical stuff, and on the other hand, also of patients, because obviously both sides need to trust in technology and the application of artificial intelligence. The second work stream is about regulation, so identifying what needs to be done from the legal perspective. And the third work stream is about technology and security. We also know that Israel is not only leading in digital health, but also in cybersecurity. And this is very much interconnected when we speak about data, when we speak about privacy and security of data. So again, that's what this program is all about. ELNET is doing much more. We have a large focus on digital health already for a while. So if you're interested to learn more, have a look at our website or also at ginsum.eu, another big program that we started a year ago, connecting with the support of the German federal government, connecting the economic systems of Germany and Israel. And we're going to visit Israel hopefully soon. It looks like Corona allows for it, to explore more opportunities in the digital health system. So thank you very much for listening. I am very much looking forward to this day, to the panel discussions that we're going to host, to the fruitful and hopefully also inspiring conversations we will have on the panel, on the stage, but also during the coffee breaks. And this is now the right time to have the first one. So before we resume with the first panel, please enjoy some free time, have a coffee or maybe a little snack, and we'll be back in about 30 minutes probably here. Thank you very much for being with us.